I'm going to give you a story of a man that came to our retreat who had three main problems. He had chronic headaches, which he took a lot of painkillers for. He had a very congested chest, and also he had terrible lower back pain. Did you know that 75% of weight held in your lower back is held by water? The other percentage, of course, is taken with your ligaments, your muscles. And so a state of dehydration, lower back pain is quite common. So that's what this man had. And when I was consulting with him, I said to him, how much water do you drink a day? He said, oh, I don't drink water. I said, you don't drink water? I said, what do you drink? He said, oh, Coca-Cola, coffee, because he has a lot of painkillers. He was only 44. He was a well-built man, but at 44, his quality of life had gone. So we encouraged him to start drinking more water. By the end of the week, the headache had gone. By the end of the week, the lower back pain had certainly eased and his lungs were a little freer. I saw him 5 weeks later. He jumped out of the car with a big smile on his face and had a 2-litre, you'd say 2-quart bottle of water. He said, I'm drinking 4 litres a day. He said, in 5 weeks I've had no headaches, no lower back pain, and he said my chest is almost clear. What was his problem? It was dehydration. How nice when it's as simple as that. It's not always that simple, but it's nice when it is that simple. So Dr. B's book, One of the Body's Many Cries for Water, is an important book because he goes into every body function and shows how important it is for us to be drinking adequate water. One lady said to me, I drink quite a lot of water in my cups of tea. Sorry, that doesn't do it, because tea contains dehydrating agents. Caffeine and tannin are both quite strong dehydrating agents. And if she puts a little teaspoon of sugar in that, there's another dehydrating agent in there. We had a pathologist do our program. He said, we've done studies on caffeine, and we have found that you need 5 cups of water to make up for the dehydrating agents in 1 cup of coffee. Now that was a cup of coffee that also had sugar in it as well. So not only are people not drinking enough water, but they are also causing dehydration because of the drinks that they are having. Again, we need to drink little by little by little. Much depends on your activity through the day. If you're working out in the garden and perspiring a lot, if you're having steam baths a lot, then definitely you need to drink more water. One of the signs that you're drinking adequate water is that your urine is clear. So when your urine is clear, that's a fairly good sign that you're drinking enough water. Now at the moment here at the retreat, you're having B vitamins, and those B vitamins have an effect on your body to cause your urine to be fluorescent yellow. So don't be surprised if this week your urine is fluorescent yellow. So you just got to find out how to get it in. And many people in aged care facilities, elderly people, they do not drink enough water. And it certainly is a contributing factor to the mental illness and the deterioration in brains we're seeing. In Australia, there are 1,700 cases of Alzheimer's being diagnosed every week. Now that's a bit scary. Did you know that God never meant our brain to deteriorate? And tomorrow we're going to go to the brain, and tomorrow I'm going to show you how you can get brighter and smarter and wiser with age. Brains should not be deteriorating. Have you read of Alzheimer's or dementia in the Bible? I certainly haven't. And before the flood, people were living till they were 700 and 800 years old. We're getting people today who are showing signs of dementia and Alzheimer's in their 40s and in their 50s, and this should not be. And it's often not just one point, often it's several points, but one is certainly dehydration. So I'll give you a story to illustrate. We had a lady came and did our program a few years ago now. It's probably about 6 years ago now. She was 45 and she brought her mother who had dementia. So we always say if someone has Alzheimer's or dementia, they will need to have a carer with them. Because we're not a hospital, we just teach you how to give your body the conditions for healing. When the mother first arrived, so the mother was probably early 70s, I went into the bedroom and she was just standing there looking out the window. And she looked at me, she didn't seem to even know who I was or acknowledge me. So I talked to the mother, well, I couldn't say much to the mother, but I talked to the daughter and I found out she hadn't drunk any water for 2 days. And because she had dementia, her daughter would ask her and she'd say, oh yes, I've drunk lots of water, but she actually wasn't drinking any. And she hadn't been to the bathroom for 3 days. I'm talking about her bowels. So they're two things that we can fix pretty good. So we gave her herbs to get the bowels moving, and we just got her to drink little bits of water. See, a lot of elderly people are put off water because they don't want to have an accident. But if you can explain to them, just have a mouthful at a time. That's reachable. Just have a mouthful at a time. If you have a mouthful of water every couple of minutes, you'll be surprised how much water you can get into the body in a day. So just have lots of little bits. Within 24 hours, this lady had no dementia. She was lucid. She was talking to people, sitting and dialoguing. And the daughter looked at her and she hadn't seen her mother like this for a long time. You see, I understand what it's like in an aged care facility, because she had her mother in an aged care facility because it was just so difficult to look after her. She really couldn't leave her. That the nurses are so busy, they don't have the time to make sure everyone drinks enough water. And something else happens. When they get them to drink more water, more of the elderly people are having accidents, and then there's a lot more work for the nurses. I understand that. I understand it. I think it's our role to give our body the conditions so we never get there. Is that right? So that when we're getting into our latter years, our kids will want us to live in the little granny flat because we're going to mind the children. We're going to put the washing on the line. Oh, that's right, you put them in the clothesline. They do the ironing. They chop up the vegetables. You know, I say they're queen mother activities. You know, slow down a little bit. But how helpful is that for most busy families to have the mother or the mother-in-law there who's got a clear mind and can be of a help? I understand why so many are put in aged care facilities, because they can't be looked after. One lady said, my mother gets up at 3 in the morning, she goes to the people next door, she puts the clothes on off their clothesline. Oh, and my mother was found down the middle of the road naked. You know, that's very hard, and I feel so much for the person, because, you know, that's very debilitating for the mind to deteriorate like that. And so here we had this lady who got her faculties back within 24 hours because we got her bowels working and she started to drink more water. She really liked the salt. And if you give salt to someone, you know what's the next thing they do? They reach for the water. So this daughter and her mother, the daughter's name was Isabel, she decided to book in for the next week. So she stayed for 2 weeks. She hadn't seen her mother like this for 10 years. Halfway through the second week, she rang up the aged care facility, she cancelled her room, and she brought her back home. And she lived with her for another 10 years. She eventually, I think, had a heart attack in her early 80s and passed. But what a lovely thing that could happen. So the scary thing about that story is how many people are losing their minds, are in aged care facilities, that if they just had someone who could work with them and get these body functions working well, would be okay. But as I said, the person we can work on is ourselves. And when our friends and relatives see the effect of what these lifestyle changes are doing, then they'll be inspired to make the changes too, we hope and we gather. So I want to give you a few Bible verses that illustrate the body. So we've got Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. The Bible says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies living sacrifices. What's a living sacrifice? It works well. That we present our bodies living sacrifices, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. Do you know why it's so reasonable? Because we're living in the body. And it's nice living in a body that works. But notice verse 2, it says, be not conformed to this world. Now we all know what that means. Just go to the fast food shops. Isn't that the way the majority of people live? Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. When you're transformed by the renewing of your mind, you get a clear mind. And I think you'll agree with me. Are you finding now, what are we now? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You're on your 6th day of being at the retreat. Do you find your mind is clearer? And when your mind is clearer, you can make the decision to surrender yourself to God. So that's why it means, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed. That's what God wants to do in each one of us, not just transform our bodies, but transform our minds. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And part of renewing your mind is doing what you've just done for 6 days. You've got a clearer mind. So be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. Who do we prove it to? Well, you're going to be proving it when you leave the property. You'll be proving it to everyone you meet, to your family when you go home. And remember, the most powerful testimony you can give is just you. You're happier. You're easier to live with. You're actually looking good. So let's define that again. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. And what's the perfect will of God? We find that in 3 John chapter 1 verse 2, where he says, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. That's God's will for each human being on this planet, isn't it? God has no delight in the suffering of humans. And yet the turning around, you can see why I chose those 2 verses. I think they encapsulate it very nicely. So the turning around, the transforming of the mind, the first step really is to drink more water, going to bed early, eat more food. Then your mind becomes clear and you start to see things clearly. And that's when you can make a decision. No, I want to do what is right. I want to show respect to this incredible body that God has given me. I want to be a faithful sentinel over the body that God has given me.